Hello everyone, this is Bertina Amy here and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos. And otherwise, welcome back to my channel. I hope you find these videos useful. And today we're back with another Dollar Tree DIY Halloween color your own ornament decor. Today I'm doing the jack-o'-lantern and it comes with 8 pieces of these flat wooden pieces of jack-o'-lantern shapes or pumpkin shapes. And I'm just going to do the simple Elmer's glue, sticking every single 8 pieces together because I'm turning this 2D item into a 3D item. I want it to be as 3D as I could possibly make it without using any sort of dough. So next I'm taking a popsicle stick and I'm taking my Liquitex super heavy gesso and I'm spreading it along the edges of this sort of 3D pumpkin jack-o'-lantern and just try to get the edges as smooth as I possibly can. And I'm just going to cover it later with tissue paper anyways, so it does not need to be perfect. Once that's dry, take some scrap tissue paper, tear it into little pieces, and then start applying it using Mod Podge. Now you can use homemade Mod Podge, which is 1 part glue, 1 part water, or you can use actual Mod Podge, which they also sell at the Dollar Tree. And if you have a large tub of Mod Podge like I do, you can even add water to it if it starts to feel like it's getting a little thick. Make sure to give this a good 360 coverage and allow time to dry in between and afterwards so that we can move on to the next step. For this project, I do recommend that you go ahead and poke out the holes and the mouth areas and any like little crevices or openings within this jack-o'-lantern just so that they aren't completely covered up by the time you cover it in paint. If you don't do that and then paint it first, you're going to end up basically covering up the looks of the jack-o'-lantern completely and you're just going to be left with a basic outline of a pumpkin shape. Be sure to use Mod Podge to try to get any sort of excess tissue paper to be covering within the inside parts of these openings within the jack-o'-lantern, if that makes any sense. You could try to do this while the paint or the Mod Podge rather is dry. However, what's going to happen is that stuff is going to tear and it may end up not covering up the entire surface completely, and you'll see what the original underlying appearance is instead. So, and that may or may not be pretty and you might not like it. So I'm trying to cover all my bases and make sure that if you want to do this project that you know what steps to take. Once you have a 360 coverage and everything is dry, go ahead and either tear off or clip off using scissors the excess tissue paper that you don't need. Then Mod Podge the remaining tissue paper that may or may not be attached to the piece. And here I noticed that I had missed the one spot, and that's okay because I hadn't painted it yet. It's easier to see and fix while the tissue paper is still visible. I decided to sort of give it a base coat primer, so to speak, and I started with white paint from Apple Barrel. Then I decided I wanted it to have like a dual tone on my pumpkin, so I wanted brown as the undertone or the underlying color so that it would show up through crevices. And so I go with this one brown color that I happen to have on hand from Craft Smart. And if you've been following my videos lately, I've been talking about how Craft Smart is not my favorite brand of acrylic paint. I much prefer Apple Barrel as far as inexpensive paints go. And Apple Barrel just has, in my opinion, the right consistency for paint versus Craft Smart for some reason is just very liquidy for me. It's a little too thin and I feel like it needs more coats. So I think Apple Barrel is the best bet. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So the next step is to take some orange paint and water it down. Now the orange paint I had on hand I felt was way too bright for my liking since it's fall time. So I decided to tone it down with a little bit of red and a little bit of brown, and I got this shade of orange, and I just watered that shade down with water and just kind of did a wash over top until I was happy with the amount of orange paint that ended up on there. I actually ended up doing 2 coats watered down, and I liked the shade of orange and how much was on there by that point. I just wanted a little hint of the brown. The brown was too much brown, just seemed like it was a spoiled pumpkin to me, and that's not the look I was going for. So that's why I decided to tone down the orange but put 2 coats of the orange to make the brown areas less visible. So the 8-pack of the Create Your Own Ornaments comes with this really thin twine, And if you have thicker twine you'd rather use, go for it. I wanted to try to use up the entire contents of this package, so I actually ended up needing more, but I take the twine and I separate it all out so I could see I had 8 pieces of them, and I decided to take each of them and combine them together so that I would pair them together, and then I twisted them and then started gluing them in areas where I would expect to be sort of that indentation areas of each pumpkin or whatever. They have several, so I'm using that to sort of give it that sort of look of a pumpkin, even though it's a thicker 2D model versus a true 3D model that I'm making here. So I just repeat that process. I had excess twine from the past projects you've seen me post on my channel, and I wanted to make sure that I could use as much of this really thin twine as I could. Now, if you don't mind having excess scraps or just throwing it away, that's totally fine. You can use thicker twine if you have it on hand. I know that in previous packets I've received from Dollar Tree, I was able to get thicker twine, so this was a little bit of a letdown, but regardless, I wanted to repurpose it and not make it go to waste. So with this project, the hot glue wasn't working to keep it down very, very well. It was kind of slipping off as I was trying it out, and so I did a combination of tacking it down with both hot glue and Elmer's glue, and I had to let it sit without moving it or touching it, just so that it would stay still once cooled and dried. And then once I got it tacked down on one end, then I would twist them, and then I would use glue to kind of have it follow a certain curve, and then try to like tack it down that way or whatever, maybe with a little bit of hot glue if needed, and then just go down to the edge of the piece and then repeat the process. And then once that was set to where I wasn't worried about it anymore, I took actual Mod Podge and just dabbed the entirety of the twine that's on top of there, just so it would adhere better to the whole piece, because otherwise I'm afraid that it'll just slide right off. Hot glue just won't cut it. It's a little bit on the more smooth, glossy surface type finish, and so that's the reason why it's not adhering as well, but glue and Mod Podge will help on a more long term for this, just not the hot glue. Hot glue is more like really quick tack down, so that's what I ended up doing for this. And then I just kept going until I had the amount of twine I wanted wrapped on the front part of this piece. And for this project, I ended up using 5 total pairs of twisted thin twine pieces that came in this packet, and that for me was the perfect amount. So honestly, this project did take me quite a few days because of all the drying time in between with anything to do with paints. And due to running out of time, getting so close to having to get the shorts done, I had to just go with just showing you the front part. But I'm sure you can imagine what the back would have looked like if I decided to do both sides. But for my purposes, the front is just fine, simply because of my intentions for it in the future. So let me know what you think of this project in the comments below, and let me know if it inspired you to make your own, and if you came up with a totally different way of designing your own sort of 3D pumpkin jack-o'-lantern. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.